Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
Thank you so much for joining us on Atlantic Television Network. This is Atlantic Blowout, and it's a syndicated live program of the network featuring chit-chatting and conversation on special interest topics on news events and stories through correspondence reports, through experts' opinion, and also stakeholders' analysis. Let's take a quick look at the stories we have for today. We'll look at this one from Edo State, saying Edo State begins payment of minimum wage to its workers. And on the FCT, passengers stranded as Abuja-Kaduna train derails. And in Oyo State, we have varsity students expelled over alleged killing. And on the economy, Tinubu's key policies necessary but wrongly implemented. This was stated by Obasanjo. And then on education, ex-Unilag VC laments high rate of out-of-school children. And we'll also look at this one on youth employment. FG to reduce youth restiveness in the Niger Delta, stated by Minister. We'll take a very quick time out, and when we return, we'll introduce our guests and delve straight into the stories.
Jack us up and down like this now.
I hope nobody carry belly.
Why you ask go?
Because this road where they see, so you know guarantee safe delivery.
We just vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Roads, so no day. Light to Usa. The infrastructure, it can't turn to be forbidden fruit for the city.
Corruption, well everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay. Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
Now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I'm here. You.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, oh. Please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. I will call you back.
Their behavior not good now.
Madam. Now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently. Make Nigeria for better.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old since. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap him.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer in our house, I supposed pay that one. You remember say me I tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, nah. They pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker? Why would they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time? Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure?
Sure.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
It's a pleasure to have you back. Also a pleasure to introduce our guests in the studio. With us here is Dandy Loveday, and he is a public affairs analyst. It's a pleasure having you, Dandy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And we also have with us Royal Chief Magnus Edo. Good morning, Royal Chief.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Yes, good morning. It's a Royal Chief is a traditional ruler who is also a public affairs analyst, loves to talk show development. Let's look at our very first story here. This was from Edo State. The Edo State government begins payment of the 70,000 naira new minimum wage to workers in the state. This is in fulfillment of the promise to increase the minimum wage from May 2024. During the recent inauguration of the Labour House in Benin City, the state capital, Governor Godwin Obaseki announced the increase of the minimum wage for workers in the state from 40,000 naira to 70,000 naira to cushion the impact of the harsh economy on the people of the state. Now, in a statement on Sunday, the State Commissioner for Communications and Orientation said the payment of the 70,000 naira minimum wage to the workers further demonstrates the commitment of the Obaseki-led administration to the welfare of Edo workers. I can imagine when this was announced.
Congratulations to the people of Edo State. I was one of those that said that was a political statement. when we saw that from 40,000 to 70,000. It's a good one. It's a good one. I want to thank the governor for keeping to his words that actually is looking into the welfare of workers in his state. And he's starting with the minimum wage. You know, even though it's not enough, but at least that's
so much.
Steps which I think other governors should also challenge, that you can still have governors that have the courage, the think about the welfare of the workers in the state. So it's a very good one for me.
All right.
It's a very good
one. All right, let's hear you, Dandy Loveday.
Okay, for me, it's a good one. And I want to start by clapping for the Edo State.
Were you also one of those Nigerians who felt it was a political statement?
Is that, ordinarily, yeah.
You had that thought.
Yeah.
Why do you usually doubt?
It shows that politicians must begin to build confidence within the masses. So a lot have been said unimplemented. So when you hear things like this, like how possible it is, considering what's happening between NLC currently with the federal government, everybody can just think they have come again. But reading begins. You know, they said begins with payment, and that's wonderful. And connection to Edo State.
Okay, was it a case of not trusting politicians in general, or what do you think was the case? Why did you doubt the statement at first?
For me, we've had a lot of statements coming from politicians, and that there's not been any actions to back up those statements. And it becomes a concern to Nigerians, mostly a person like me. We heard about government policies without implementing any of those policies. We heard of even the current president have made a lot of promises, and we've not been seeing one coming forth. You know, in other states, we've been hearing about we are going to do this. It's been more ways, it's not today. The past administration have been promising make a lot of promises to workers, and none has been action. So if we see someone that have actioned it, implement it, is worth to be commended. But that does not mean that the workers, is not only the minimum wage that is the need of workers. There are some incentive, you know, promotions of workers and all that. Not that you pay them minimum wage, they are stagnant at one particular position for years. So like we had here in the States over some time, that workers were not promoted. But thank God for the governor we have in our own River State, start looking into the welfare of promoting workers. These are what give hope for people that is doing this brown collar job, you know.
Brown collar jobs
yes,
now, no longer white.
Yes.
Why the color now brown? Why the color is now brown?
They
Why is it now brown? It used to be white.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you have to say to the workers now? He also mentioned some incentives, and is this really a time for them to be asking for all of that?
Yeah, it's very important. You know, part of the reason why we are applauding the governor is that recently the 30,000 minimum wage, so many governors have never implemented. Now to talk about the new one. So this is what's applauding. So for him to take that bold step, whether it's for political reason or for anything, whatever it is, we have to give it to him. Then other workers' incentive is important. What's more incentive than higher pay? The workers enjoy higher pay. With this, more workers can go into higher standard of living and then get themselves whatever they need to make work easy and all that. So promotion of the workers is very, very paramount.
Some Nigerians who were in support of the 54,000 naira minimum wage proposed by the federal government have said one of their reasons for being in support of that amount and not in support of the 615,000 that Labour has requested is that they feel like the economy right now cannot handle that. Even if payment is made once, that Nigeria might not be able to maintain paying the workers a huge amount, and that's why they agreed with the 54,000. So do you see this amount being sustained, this 70,000 naira, looking at the current situation of the economy?
You know, we used to have low-cost houses built by government for civil servants over the years. There are some levels that you will climb to in the civil service that you will be giving a house, you pay a very small amount of money. These awards give hopes to workers because if you are a level 13 workers, as currently now, you cannot afford to pay a 3-bedroom flat that is comfortable enough to accommodate your children and you. You see that they will be crowding at the rural area looking at where they can pay for their accommodations. But where a government are to provide they have to provide that accommodation and be taking a minor percentage from their salary. These are what a civil servant enjoys over the years. You know, they build these houses. Once you are retired, you move out from the apartment, and other workers will come in. You see that the job was very, very enjoyable at that time. In the 70s, in the 80s, you see people that are in the civil service, they enjoy a lot. But today, the government have converted those properties to politicians. You know, in the case of River State here, you can't see a civil servant of level 4, 5, 6, 7 seeing accommodations. You know, you can't see it except you are almost like 1 year to retired before you can be talking about
your own house.
Yes, your own house. How can you build a house? We are talking about 70,000 minimum wage for a particular state. You know, how can you, and you have 35 years to work? Maybe your promotion doesn't come as when due. You are stagnant at the particular positions for over time. You know, and again, there's no training for them like we have before.
There's no more training.
Training for civil servants like we have before. You have to do training. You'll be hearing about ministries doing training, giving them capacity building, you know, taking them for excursions for other states.
So that was taken away from the federal civil servants or from state civil servants?
Very, very good for every individual. For every, you know, it is against the worker. You are not expected to do any other job. You are dedicated for that particular job. So what moves you is when you have the certain incentive, not the salary alone. They have provision for vehicle that will take you from your destinations to work, and you are sure of coming back home once it is 4 p.m. The vehicle will take you home. You pay a minimum, very simple transportation. For instance, where you live, you pay 200 naira. Generally, as a civil servant, there are ways that they handle civil servant. Maybe you will pay 50 naira to save your salary, to save your money. Even in the facilities, the secretariat, you see the cost of purchasing things are very cheap because they know these people, they earn very small amount of money. They can be seeing this. You are employing, you are giving an apartment based on your level. You are employed, you know that the source of the means of going to work, it is very guaranteed. If there will be no vehicle, they will communicate ahead of time. That so time, there will be no vehicle for you, so that you prepare yourself. You know, I work in the for some time before I resigned from that particular job. I know what happens there. You will be seeing civil servants enjoying, lining up to enter those vehicles. We don't see it coming forth these days. And just because most of the civil servants, most of our workers, they don't know that, they don't take the work serious. I may put it like that they don't take the work serious. If you take your work serious, you demand for what it is meant for you.
So they are not demanding because they are not taking their work
Of course, it may be they are not implementing the civil service rule that says that these are visible things. These are things that everybody can see. I'm not talking about senior from level 12, 13, 14, they can classify you as a senior civil servant. You know, at that level, you can afford for some certain things. You can do certain things on your own. But we are talking about those other levels of civil servants from level 8 or 9, 10, 12. What can you do when you don't see an accommodation provided by you by government? It is in the law. It is in the civil service rule that we are going to provide this for you to enable you work effectively. If you go to town in those days, you will see, if they tell you that your parents are civil servants, you'll be happy because you live in free houses. You know, you don't subscribe. There is free subscription for the cable network you watch. Then there is free water, free medical,
children.
Free everything free. So why wouldn't you be taking the work serious? It's not only these days you see we are trying to have this health scheme. Free, most of things free. Even the school your children attend, it's sometimes free education. So these are incentives that labor should be demanding for, not only minimum wage.
All right, let's get to hear you, Dandy Loveday. Royal Chief has stated that they motivate these workers. You've stated earlier that what is more better than an increase in pay. Who should be talking about incentives now? So let's get to hear it.
Incentive, well, you know, you don't rule out incentive in all of this. You don't. What I mean, my point is, increase in salary is part of it. Incentive, like you mentioned, is also good. Now, if you give a worker, if every civil servant at a certain grade, or you want to make it at all level, you have free accommodation, free buses, or all that. If I get to an extent where you give us car loans, now that's perfect. That's trying to motivate the workers to put in their best. But there's something you mentioned where you said, is it that some Nigerians are agreeing to the 54,000 naira because the government may not be able? And I don't even agree to that 54,000 naira. Even the 70,000 naira is not much. It's not, considering the current economic reality. So settling for 54,000 naira is not. Increasing the worker salary is paramount.
People have stated about civil servants not being serious, and also the problem of, we've had cases like that raised. If this is maintained or if this is continued, that means it's going to cause a strain on finance or the purse of that particular state if they are paying people who are not available. So how do we solve that problem?
What is government and what is governance? The government have their way of tracing all this. Who is even fixing the name? So you should start from the top. Can the ordinary civil servant in his office or our office, the lower level civil servant, can they go there and fix them? Who is fixing the names? So say the governor or whoever that is in charge.
This from has stated that he has announced something like this before on the same route. Let's get to hear, yes, Dandy Love.
You know, every transportation sector or area, the transportation sector should be taken serious, and then in every angle of it, the air, the land, the rail, every other side should be taken serious. Now, if that has happened, he said they already, from what you read, he said they're already trying to fix it. So accidents are bound to happen. And he said it's minor. Thank God no life was lost. So if they said they already...
issues here, we have to look at the competence of the engineers that are maintaining this our railway. We need to look at how competent they are, you know. And sometimes we underrate our own engineers in Nigeria here, and then thinking that we bring foreign partners and those that are, we think they have the expertise to handle issues concerning technical issues like this. So
why do we underrate our engineers?
Yes, that is the government. That is what government feel like. If you bring a trainee from China comes to Nigeria, he look expert, you know. They like packaging that maybe the person look expert instead of you employing your fellow brother that have studied, you know, that have studied and have the required certificate to handle that particular job. Nigeria, we prefer bringing one a mechanic from China just because he's white. We have this mentality that white knows it all. White are expatriate, even though when they don't know anything. They don't know anything at all because they are expatriate and you pay them in dollars. So we are talking about controlling the economy, putting the economy in the best directions. Remove those foreign exchange rate that the cost of maintenance of all those things are very high because these foreign experts that we think they are experts, when we still have company, look at our Nigerian doctors, for instance. They are doctors that handle every cases of illness. But Nigeria, we think that until you go to Dubai, until you travel abroad, until you get the best treatment. So those engineers need to look at, we need to look at what actually happened. That is the first place. And then sometimes they make statements from the managerial angle without listening to the technical managers of that particular firm. It's not only in this area. Any other time they should hear from the people in charge of that technical area. No managerial statement that they will just come that everything is in order. What happened before? What led to that? Does it mean that the parts are faulty or it was not properly fixed? Or we don't have original parts fixed? We are talking about lives here. Passengers stranded. Now, if you want me to take through that route now, I will be discouraged. Thank God there is no attack these days again on train. You know, but we need to do things right, fixing it.
You mentioned thing that caught my attention now, the fact that you have said in your words that we like to import these people, invite these people just because they are white and because of the way it will sound that a white man is handling this matter. Lovely, do you agree to that statement?
Yeah, I also agree that we should encourage indigenous contractors. Not because you've seen a foreigner, you throw away what you have. Sometimes the knowledge may not be compared, but that takes us back to the level of our curriculum in education. So is it that, how come we don't have confidence in our contractors? Is it that what they are learning, what we learn in our own school is different from what they learn in their own school? And who are those creating this lacuna? Who are those doing that? Then also, some of the indigenous contractors, in as much as we encourage the government to make use of them, should also know how to have human sympathy, like the doctors. You try to also behave like human. When you're doing carrying out your work, you should also try to understand that there is need to display professionalism. We've had a case, or we had cases, where an operation is being carried out and something is being forgotten. As big as NATO is being forgotten and other. So when you hear some of these stories, you now become scared of your own. So a lot has to be done, even with indigenous contractors. What are the white persons, what are the foreigners doing that we are not doing? What's the packaging they are doing, they are carrying out? And as much as we agree that the knowledge our indigenous contractors can carry out proper maintenance, proper duty. Now, what are the packaging our people are not carrying out? What are we doing? What's the approach? So I think it's also important, in as much as we encourage our indigenous contractors, we encourage the government to take care of, make use of our indigenous contractors. It's also good for our indigenous contractors to step up in carrying out their duties.
You mentioned that the knowledge, though the knowledge might not be compared, you're asking what do they know that we do not know? If we don't know what they know that we do not know, then why are we saying the knowledge cannot be compared?
No, they don't. When you say, you can't even say you can't compare the knowledge. If you try me, if you try Mr. A and then try Mr. B, that's where you begin to know whether the knowledge can be compared or not. But the point I was making is, what's the education? What's the difference? What are they learning that we are not learning? Is there a lacuna? Is there something different? Do they go into more practicals?
Okay, so we've had, talking about practicals now, we've had cases where it has been stated that concerning our curriculum now, we focus more on theory than practical. We'll talk more about that after the short time out. Please stay with us, don't go anywhere. More interesting stories coming your way.
Jack us up and down like this. Now.
I hope nobody carry belly.
Why you ask go?
Because this road where they see, so you know guarantee safe delivery.
Roads so in no
corruption not in my country.
Kasali, I hope my car don't ready. I get interview in 30 minutes.
Okay, you don't ready. I just the last minute instruction. They cause more delay.
Which instruction?
Maybe now you say make I change the meter, make you no read again.
Which time I make you change meter? Oh, Kasali, why you do like that like this now? Eh? You don't get sense. You don't read the text message. Don't be I want send them to. Like Kasali, my electrician, make it come. Call me my meter so that you don't go to read again. You know electrician?
You're electrician.
Yes, now.
So you call Kasali electrician, make it come help you adjust your meter, make it for no read again, abi. So you said you want join people where be say that no one they pay. Never bill again, abi. Oga, you no good now. You don't use you don't dey behave like tea, all these stiff people.
What you change for? What you change for?
Full light. Fuel gauge. Speed. Odometer.
For what you know, you for kukuma for home my motor. I beg you identify for me.
Okay. Now don't do something we corrupt. You can't define how to dodge them.
What you talk?
Eh? I dey greet you.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
But why your plantain can't hard like this?
Madam, na the outside hard. Inside there, it is very soft.
Madam, wallahi make her no buy am. Make her show you something. What? What be this one? Madam, this one the chemical where they put am for the plantain make her ripe am.
Hey? So you dey put chemical for plantain where people go chop?
No water, no be chemical.
Water. You know say Pela I don't talk and say water and not be enemy. Drink am.
Where you collect that water, drink am.
I just stop finish. See my belly. After it don't big. I just stop drink water finish.
Make I drink am. Wait, I drink am now. I dey sell am plantain, I go come put am for chemical because I want to make a ripe go. That's why I talk now corruption. Corruption. Not be for this kaswa, come not be for this country. Now me talk am.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today.
Thank you so much for standing by. The show continues right away. Before we went on that break, Royal Chief actually raised a topic for concern. The fact that he stated, and Loveday, Dandy Loveday, agreed that we do not even trust some of our professionals to allow them handle matters that concern us. You've heard people traveling out medical cases, and those people who handle their medical cases here, some of them do not have the money to travel out, and that's why they resort to our hospitals here. And then on the focus or discussion about the engineers now, we're not using our indigenous engineers and preferring to bring in engineers from outside to handle these projects that we have at hand. And you stated that as being a problem. Now, before that break, you talked about the educational system and curriculum now. What do you think needs to be adjusted for us to be able to trust our professionals the more?
Okay, first of all, we should move away from being theoretical and then try to practicalize what we're doing. You know, I've always questioned of asking students draw and label fish. while we're doing draw and label fish, some advanced countries are bringing the fish to operate and then still allow them to go. We are drawing and we've been doing this for ages. Then it will move from there. They said, you know, you keep drawing these things.
Aren't we supposed to know the parts of
I
the
don't
fish?
know, and we just...
Are we not supposed to know the parts of the fish?
Are we knowing it to eat? Or we are knowing it on what ground? So these are part of the curriculums, I think, personally. As somebody will explain, we need to change it. Rather than telling us, draw a car, bring a car, let's start learning how to fix this. In fact, the world has gone beyond just drawing. Beyond drawing. Before now, if you draw people very well, if you can draw very well, you see people gathering you. Right now, people are being practical. So these issues need to be corrected in our curriculum.
We do not have practicals included in our curriculum at all?
I don't know.
We have farms in our universities where the students usually go to carry out the practicals.
Can you mention one of the farms that is competing globally? One. But if you said let's mention oil, the oil firms, in fact the oil that is competing globally will come and they will tell the Nigeria. That's because we're over concentrating on oil, and we don't even want to look at other angles. So why China is busy bringing from primary school, people are constructing, they are fixing things. In Nigeria, we are drawing those things that we are supposed to be fixing. So these are part of the issues that have made us to lose confidence in our own.
Okay, practicals. No practicals at all. You agree to that? We have laboratories in our universities. So what are they doing there? They're not carrying out practicals.
I agree completely with that, but I want to add that I think the National Assembly need to make laws that if you're a lecturer of a particular department, you should not accept government appointments. Because if you look at all those commissioners, some of them are lecturers of universities, and you go for secondment and you leave your professional duties and you go for appointment for government. Who is teaching the children? Those are children. For instance, there are a lot of departments and faculties in the university based on what you are there to study, and you are the head of that department to supervise, ensure that those lecturers 1, 2 under you are doing the job correctly. In that particular, there are some department you have 1 or 2 lecturers that are very expertise on that area, and then 2 of them are out.
Is it a problem with the lecturers?
It's a problem because you don't have who is teaching these people, and at the time you graduated from university, you cannot practicalize what you have been taught.
So you feel the lecturers are often going outside the curriculum. So the curriculum provides for practicals, and then the lecturers are going outside that.
Yeah, we are rushing political appointment, allowing the students to be on their own. Is there any construction site? All is live in universities.
And then we blame
even the lecturers, even the ones teaching them cannot even
handle
a site.
The lecturers now, did they have that provision for the practical, for them to have carried it out, for them to now teach the children or the students now that practical aspect of their course?
If that's part of it, the foundation. And you want it, like from what he said, you want us to continue in that line? If I understand that you're a lecturer and you're leaving your duty for other things, and then in fact, for crying out loud, all that matters is let me write the exam and go away. Then tomorrow you employ me. I also want to do like that.
Yes, of course.
Do you understand?
But then we have the lecturer. These are some of the things that these lecturers are asking for. No. Funding for more research in universities.
And that's why we said motivation.
Force the lecturers now.
No, you see, he's giving an example. Yes. And not like all lecturers are like that.
Of course we can't.
But we have majority who will leave their job to go and look for. Probably the motivation is not there, so they're looking for greener pastures.
Yes, now they're not well paid. If you are well paid, can you leave your duty post and be looking for other things? Like now, except professors and senior lecturers can be allowed for appointments. And I love that statement coming from universities, that except professors and senior lecturers, you will see a junior lecturer accepting appointment because the law gives that person the power to seek for secondment, he can quickly say he's going for studies. He want to make some research. Whereas he's accepting government appointment completely 8 years. And when you are coming back, you need to refresh yourself. They need to put you in a special training again for you to be able to cope with the current job. To be able to cope with it. And just for instance, those 8 years is still part of your years in service. Your years in service, those 8 years that you were out because your name is still on the payroll, that you are an employee of these social institutions. So I am saying that those lecturers that are leaving their duty posts because of other appointments, our children in the universities are suffering from that. And what comes out from the universities is what they practicalize. That is not even a graduate, for instance. He's not even a graduate, but he has knowledge of what he was employed to do. Here we talk about paper qualifications. You know, we have technical schools here. No parents is ready to send their children to technical school. They are always going for schools that talks about paperwork. Paperwork all through. And the person you are training all through paperwork is coming out to face the reality on the field.
And then for the lecturers who are on ground to carry out their jobs, they have stated no. So we have lecturers who are dedicated to their jobs. Do they even have the equipment to work with and to carry out these practicals? Are these tractors available to teach these students how to operate the tractor, for instance? Are these equipments really available for them?
That's where that's the corruption we're talking about. The government, that's also where the government have to come in. That's also where good governance needs to come in. You're sending me to go and carry out a practical. Now the students, these equipments are not available. I mean, in many cases, you see the students contributing to go and get these things just to carry out a practical. So that's also, it's either the government will tell us we provided this but they misused it, or we are not. That means that calls for more attention in the education sector. So these things are not in existence. In fact, you go to so many primary schools,
there's a provision for internship where the students are sent to certain companies for them to learn the practical aspect of their course. So is there any fault in the internship programs that we have in universities? Is that not a practical time for the students?
The students are in the appropriate place. For instance, if you are talking about the Polytechnic, which I think this is where it's more practical, that after your ND, before you continue your HND, you do 1 year or 6 months internship training. Who is checking these students that they're actually in their correct training center? For instance, it is the school to also request students to your facilities for training. Some students in the civil service, they do pay them for some money, I know, 20 or 30,000, depends things. And you are there as a civil engineering student, you've not, or mechanical engineering student, you've not seen anything mechanical in your entire life. You cannot even know the difference between positive and negative of a battery.
Don't you think that is too much? That's too.
Imagine.
To read that particular area. You know, as he was reading it, he tried with everybody left him. We said, let's see. For 1 hour, nothing. At the time he opened, I said, this is beyond him. It didn't take him 20 minutes to fix that car.
That is it.
So it means we must have to be practical in all of the lecturing, in everything we're doing in the university. The practical aspect should be encouraged. Not just book. It's not about the whole thing. The book is good. If you see those things, can you recognize it? That's the issue. I also have an issue that happened. That's even education, the health sector. At a time, you know, children, they had to remove that issue. And we're calling a nurse. Come and fix this. The nurse said, leave it. It will be fine. And the blood was coming out. He said, leave it. She didn't even care, and she was just there writing what I don't know. And then we started screaming. It took the attention of other nurses outside the ward to come and start helping to fix, but that one was just there. So these are the attitudes we are talking. And if you hear that from the person, will you willingly take your child to that place? These are also issues that needs to be corrected in different sectors.
All right, talking about the attitude of professionals sometimes, that would take us hours to discuss because it looks like everybody has had one experience or the other. Let's look at the next story now. The management of the Ajayi Crowther University in Oyo State has expelled some students of the institution over their alleged involvement in a fight that led to the death of a fellow student. The university also debunked the presence of cultism in its institution against a trending news report. The management in a statement maintained that the university has zero tolerance for any sort of anti-societal vices and misconduct, saying it is important to stress that the expelled students do not belong to any cult group. What actually happened is that the deceased was alleged to have stolen a mobile phone, but instead of reporting the issue to the university management, the expelled students could not control their emotions, the university said. It further revealed that the actions of the expelled students led to the unfortunate death of the students. Speaking on the fate of the affected students, the statement added that the university has taken swift action by handing over all the students that are involved to the Nigeria Police Force for investigation, with the assurance that justice will be served. This is the aspect Nigerians were waiting for when the story was out there. Actually, when the university came out to tell us that these students have been expelled, all right, that they have been expelled. They were asking questions like, okay, so what happens to the students now? Are they just expelled and allowed to go? What happens to the family who have lost their son? What happens to that? But then the university has said that these students have been handed over to Nigeria Police Force for investigation. This is a very, very sad story. I don't know how this happened, but the university has said that the boy or the student was alleged to have stolen a phone, and his fellow student took him in and tortured him from Friday evening or night to the next morning, 10 a.m. on Saturday, when he reportedly died. What is your thought on this story, Loveday?
A sad one there. It ought not to be so. That's taking the laws into your hand, and you don't even investigate. You don't even know whether the student is guilty or not guilty, and whatever it is, it has led to loss of life. So what if the phone comes up now? Will you be able to return the life? So it's one. I condemn it in totality.
Now, it was stated that the porter of that particular hostel has been, is it expelled now or sacked or whatever? But then, how can such issues be prevented from happening? These are universities. We're talking about a university, not a secondary school. You know, it's easier to control secondary school children or primary school children than adults. All right, so how can cases like this be prevented from happening?
You know, the statement coming from the university, they are saying that they have zero tolerance
for cultism.
For cultism. And this is mob actions, and it is not acceptable even outside the universities anywhere. They have vigilante, they have all sorts of armies, securities, those that you normally come when you are writing exams and be saying, don't write again, raise your paper up, stand up. You know, because they believe why they do that, the student will be humble and say, okay, we'll settle after the exam. It happens all over.